Welcome to episode 179 of Coffee and Co-Read, your source for all things literary with Catherine
and Kristen, where we believe there's nothing better than a hot coffee and an awesome book. Join us for our virtual book club where we take one book a month and dive into all the drama, adventure, and romance we can find. Hi, Catherine.
Hey, Kristen.
So it is August, so it's new month, new book.
New month, new book. It's August 1st. Wild.
Oh, I don't like this because it means that, like,
summer's almost over.
Yeah.
I know, me too.
It's
halfway. But at least it's like the very beginning of August. We still have another full month.
I know, but as you know, I've got a ton of, like, the Canada Games are here this month, this year. Like the Canada Summer Games, and I think I have like 80 hours of volunteer time scheduled.
Crazy.
Mm-hmm. So,
yeah.
It'll be fun, but it'll feel like work, I think. Maybe a little bit.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it'll probably be a bit of both, I'm sure.
Yeah.
It'll have some parts that are fun and some parts that feel like work, which is probably what your work is like most of the time, maybe.
Yeah. And like, and not to say, I just mean, like, having to get up, like, is gonna, you know what I mean? Like, I literally don't have a bedtime, and I don't have a, like, a wake-up time. My alarm's not waking me up at all for summer. Yeah. So it'll suck having to do that. Yeah. And a lot of it is, like a ride service. Like, we have to park somewhere and then get, like, a bus to bring us down to the actual venues, because just parking,
it's gonna be hella busy. Yeah.
So that's sort of annoying. So anyway, but I am excited to, like, be in it. Apparently pin trading is a really big deal, so I'm excited to, like, get in on that and, like, see how crazy it actually is.
Yeah, that's fun.
So, and the announcing is going to be really cool too. Yeah. I feel it in my bones that the announcing is going to be fun.
I think it is too. That sounds awesome.
Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, so I guess what we do at the beginning of every month, we talk about our new book that we are starting this month and how we heard about it, and all that jazz. So this month we are reading Phantasma by Kaylie Smith. So I guess, do you want to talk about what you know about it, how you heard about it, anything at all?
Yeah. I can't really remember the first time I saw it pop up, but I'm sure, like, I kept seeing the cover everywhere. Yeah. And then before Christmas this year, I think I talked about this before, but Jeff was like, I never know what books to buy you because you just buy whatever you want. And I was like, yes, I do. So I did up, like, an Amazon wish list thing, and I put a few books on it so that if he needed to get me something else, because Christmas and my birthday are a day apart. So I was like, if he needed something else to throw in with my gifts, I was like, this is a good thing. And I was like, I'll keep it up to date so that you know. I haven't, but he bought me Quicksilver and Phantasma off of it. And I had just bought myself Quicksilver. So I didn't even stick to it long enough for him to buy me a birthday gift. It was so stupid. But he said that he wasn't going to buy me. He was like, oh no, I already got you figured out. I don't need to buy you. And I was like, well, just in case. So I didn't expect him to. And then he picked those two off of it. So I obviously returned the Quicksilver that I bought 2 chapters. And it was all fine. But it was just funny. I did start this book in January because I was like, oh, he bought me a book. I should read it. And I got to chapter 15, I think. And I feel like I just got into either, like, a slump or, like, sometimes with work in the podcast, if I don't keep on top of, like, fun reading, I just let it slide. So I just kept leaving this book and letting it slide, even though, like, it's interesting, and I was, like, intrigued by what was happening. But it's also, it does have, like, those high-stakes moments where I'm like, oh, I don't want to keep reading because what's she going to get herself into?
Yes, 100%. Yeah.
So there was definitely some of that of, like, oh, shit, what is she going to do next? Yeah. So I did like I like the characters, and I was intrigued by the book. And I even bought the second one, and I was like, I just need to get back into it. I just haven't yet. So this is a good opportunity for me, I think, to actually read it. How about you?
Yeah, so, I mean, not quite as much as that. So...
What are you trying to say?
No. I mean, like, okay, so when we were, just full transparency, when we were discussing what book to do this month, we were sort of tossing a few around and looking at our bookshelves and being like, yep, this one, yeah, that one could be. And then you said, oh, I have this one, why don't we do it? And I'd seen it around, like, it's all, it's on social media and everything like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh yeah, like, I have that one on my shelf somewhere. Like, sure, let's do that one. Turns out
And it is...
It is.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, turns out, yes, it's on Kindle Unlimited as well for free. So, like, if you have Kindle Unlimited. But yeah, turns out I didn't have it on my shelf. I've just seen it.
Hilarious.
I keep seeing it because our bookstore, like our local chapters, has right at the front, they have, like, a whole shelf dedicated to, like, romantasy. So, like, every SJM is there, Quicksilver is there, the Jennifer Armentrout books are there. Like, there's just a whole bunch. And so, like, I've been steadily taking books off that shelf and buying them every time I go. I'm like, yeah this one, sure. And Phantasma is there. And so, in my brain...
you own everything on that
yes,
shelf.
I assumed I had it. And then I looked at my shelf and I was like, oh, turns out I do not.
Hilarious.
So I don't have it. So luckily I did get it on Kindle Unlimited. And I went to Winners, Winner/Marshall's, whatever, the other day. Yeah. And it was there.
Makes sense. Oh.
So I bought it.
Yeah.
So, like, I have it now.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it was just funny that I was like, it's so... And, like, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, that it's so, like... I don't want to say generic in a bad way. But you know what I mean? Like, it just, like, it very much fits in the romantasy universe, I guess. Like... Yeah. That I just assumed I had it.
Yeah.
Anyway, it turns out it's not. I was confusing it surprisingly with the second Gothic. Not the second. It's not the second book in the series, but do you remember the Gothicana? I think is what it's called. It was by like Rune Nix or something like that. And they came out with another book. And it was called, like, Enigma or something like that. And I guess the A's at the end sort of, like, Enigma, Phantasma. Look, I can't even say it.
Yeah.
Phantasma.
Well, we were trying to say the second book earlier, and we were just like, oh, that's not going to work.
Anyway, but yeah, so I just got it mixed up, and turns out I didn't have it, but I do now. And I went and did go get the second one. Yeah. Whatever it's called. Enchantra?
Yeah, that's a hard one. Yeah, so this month was a bit hard because we were like, it's August, it's a 5 Friday month. Normally we'll do like an SJM or a Fourth Wing, something like large that we've definitely read before. But with just my work is crazy over the summer. Kristen now doing Canada Games volunteering, we were like, we should try not to do something too long, but I do think our episodes are going to be pretty long anyway, even though it isn't, like, it's not a huge book. It is a bit bigger than some of the ones we do, I guess, but
yeah, it's not too bad. And actually, so just to give you a little glimpse into the process, so we split up the book into like 4 or 5 equal parts depending on how many episodes are in the month. Depending on how many Fridays are in the month. And then we'll break each of those parts, either 4 or 5. We'll break that in half, and then we'll each take half and do up our notes on it. So I did do Crescent City 3, Flame and Shadow, just because we were talking about doing it because of the whole Akatar Gate drafts gate thing. So we were like,
6 to 8 gate.
do we want to do it like while they're talking, while we're talking about SJM and Akatar and the drafts and all this?
Yeah.
But it's an 800-page book.
Yeah.
It's so long.
Yeah.
Like, I'm pretty sure it's longer than Kingdom of Ash, and we did Kingdom of Ash across 2 months.
Is it actually? Because Kingdom of Ash is like almost 1,000 pages.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, well, maybe not, but still, it's very close. Yeah. It's like 860 pages.
Jesus.
Yeah, so I'm like, do we want to do that? Like, our episodes are already long when we have, like, 100 pages in an episode.
Yeah.
So, like, it's not that it's going to be painful in a bad way, because obviously, like, I love SJM, I love her writing. It's my least favorite book, but...
Yes. Yeah. Same.
Do I like it marginally more than the second one, Breath and Sky? Who's to say?
I actually am not sure.
They're...
Yeah, I feel like I had hope leaving the second book.
I like the answers. I like that we get answers. You know what I mean? Like, all of these mysteries that have been built up. And, like, all of these, like... Remember at the end of the first one when Jacinta or Jacinia or whatever her name is talking to the cat? And we're like, who the fuck is she? In real life.
Yeah.
Like, I like that we got answers to all those, like, mysteries that were popping up. So, like...
that's true.
Maybe I like it marginally more because of those answers. And, like, everything is resolved and mostly tied in a nice little bow.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Yeah, I don't know what to say about it.
So who knows? That might end up being 2 months.
Well, yeah, I think probably we could probably do it in 2-4 months. But that's a behind the scenes conversation.
Yes.
And also, like we were talking about last week, I don't think we're getting the next SJM book tomorrow by any means. No. So I think we've got some time. Yeah. We'll wait till we get an announcement, and then we'll probably book that book in. Book it in.
Book it in. But back to Phantasma.
Yeah. So, obviously, a heads up. This isn't a spoiler-free zone. I know I've read a little bit past the first week, and so have you. But, like, I still don't really think we're going to get too much into spoilers. It's just going to be, like the last book we did, it's just going to be our thoughts on what the hell is
our thoughts
going
and
on.
Theories.
Yeah. And things do not get saucy this week, but we do swear, so heads up on that. If you're joining for the first time and didn't listen to the rest of the intro where we probably swore. So
I think they get saucy week 3, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, so...
Well, it is a romantasy, so it's expected. Although, you know what? There's, like, almost sauciness next week. There's, like, a saucy little dream.
Oh,
and there's a saucy little tub. So, yeah.
It's a modicum of sauce.
Yeah. There's, like, some Franks next week. The most basic of hot sauces. So, Phantasma, obviously, we said, is a novel by Kaylie Smith. And Kaylie Smith is a romantasy author, and she has 2 ongoing series at the moment. A Ruinous Fate. The third, and I think final book in that trilogy is expected... Oh, no, not expected. Was released on July 29th. So, like, 2 days ago. And then this series is Wicked Games, and it's this book and Enchantra. And another book is expected, but there's no release date. And I think Enchantra came out this year or late last year or something. Seems like she's releasing books pretty quickly.
I don't know, because so when we were talking about it, which is another fun moment, I looked up the series on Goodreads because as we get into this week, there are a hell of a lot of mysteries and questions that come up, like, immediately. It's like, what the fuck is happening, right?
Yeah.
So I wanted to know, like, is this a series in that we will follow this same FMC, like, from the jump and through all the books, and, like, she's still encountering and having to solve problems throughout all 3 books? Mm-hmm. Or is it more of, like, you know, your typical sort of romance style book where it's a series, but each book follows a different FMC and MMC. So I was on Goodreads looking at that to try and see.
Yeah.
And I did see that, no, this is, not that it's standalone, but, like, this book and Enchantra follow 2 different people.
Yeah.
So I looked up, and it said that the 3rd book was coming out in December. But again, there's no cover, and you were nice enough to point out, to be like, Goodreads isn't super reliable for that sort of thing. So I guess we're taking that with a grain of salt.
Yeah, so I can't imagine, because actually Enchantra came out April of this year, so April 2025, and then this new book is coming out, or came out 2 days ago. So April, July, she could realistically come out with another book in December. So maybe it's expected then, but I couldn't find a release date. And it seems wild to have that many books come out in that short amount of time, because, like, so far, like, I'm really enjoying her writing, and, like, I don't think there's any, like, maybe she had her, like, everything drafted up and almost done. Like, maybe she's just, like, finishing off them now that she's publishing them. Like, I don't know, because it seems like the writing is really well done for the books to be coming out so fast. But anyway, we'll get into it, and I guess we'll see.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, I'm on Goodreads right now, and it says, if I were to click on it, expected the December 2nd, 2025.
Yeah. And I think that's the only place I could find anything about the 3rd book. And like I said, you know, if she's putting out a book April, a book July, there's a possibility she could put out a book in December. So who knows? Maybe that's why it's expected.
Yeah. And so far, a lot of the comments are, like, people saying, like, they didn't even realize there was going to be a 3rd one, and everyone's really excited about it. So I am
Is
hopeful.
there going to be a 3rd one?
I'm hopeful.
Is it only on Goodreads that it says there's a 3rd one?
Yikes. Well, on Amazon, it's just the 2, but you can buy it because it's like, buy this 2 books together.
Yeah. Interesting. So I guess we'll see what comes of this. So yeah, so this is our first week. We're doing chapters 1 to 12. There is a content warning, which, like, a few of the books we read do have, but not a lot of them, really.
No, we tend to, I think, play it a bit vanilla.
more vanilla than what we read in our spare time, necessarily. But yeah, there is, you know, explicit sexual content, elements of horror, and I think the main one that I just wanted to touch on is, like, in-depth depictions of OCD or obsessive compulsive tendencies. So I don't know, I just found it interesting that the author, like, the way that she writes it is really, I think, helpful for maybe people who don't know much about what OCD is other than, hearing people say that they're OCD because they like to keep their space clean. So I haven't gotten too far into the book, and I don't know too much about OCD. It'd be interesting to hear from
me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I have OCD. Obviously, mine is mine is health based. So yeah. It's not the type of OCD that I identify with, but again, mine presents itself differently.
Yeah.
And I guess everybody has their own take on it. But like, I don't want people. I also I'm sure that like everybody's presents itself slightly differently, but I wouldn't want everybody reading it to be like, well, everybody with OCD is like this, because that's not.
Yeah,
that's not
definitely
accurate for me anyway.
Yeah, and like it's like any kind of, I guess, any kind of these things, OCD, ADHD, autism, like all of these things. There's like spectrums of everything, and there's different, like you said, the way it presents in people. Obviously, one person's experience is going to be different than another person's. So, but it is, I just found it interesting because, like, looking it up there, she does have OCD, and it's like, is this what hers presents like? I wonder.
Yeah.
And also, it is a magical world. So it's like, is there elements of, because we kind of get into that even in the first week of like, I think in the first week, maybe just into the second week of like, is this real life? Is it in her head? Well, actually, we get into that in the first chapter. So it's definitely, there's a lot on the go in it, I'll say.
Yeah, and like, it is one of those things where there are hints along the way that maybe it's not, like, it's one of those things where you're constantly wondering throughout the book, like, is it actually OCD, or is it some form of magical thing that we haven't discovered yet? And I don't know how I feel about that. Like, because is it assuming that there's a fix for it, or like insinuating that maybe it's real, it's not in your head, and I don't know.
Yeah. And I do feel like her writing in the trigger warnings about it, I do feel like that makes me feel like she's not going to be like, and it's magic and it goes away. Like, you know what I mean? I do feel like, if it was just going to be magic or just a voice that she hears from somebody in the book that is just like getting into her head, I don't think she would have brought up OCD.
Yeah, maybe.
But I don't know. That's just and obviously neither one of us has read the book, so we'll have to see.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just something, I guess, if you do have this type of OCD, it could really resonate with you maybe, or it could trigger you, which is the case with a lot of trigger warnings. So
yeah, to me it's just neutral. Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, I don't identify with that type, but it doesn't bother me.
Yeah, no, that's fair. So yeah, we're just having all the conversations on this one. We'll get into the books in a minute. But before we get into the book again, there's the hierarchy of paranormal beings.
I don't know if this was in the Kindle Unlimited one.
Oh no?
Unless, I don't think it is.
Okay.
Hang on.
Well, I can take a picture of it and send it to you.
Well, no, I have the book downstairs now, so it's fine.
Oh, true.
But yes, I'm just gonna have a look in the Kindle version just to see while you start talking to us about this.
So yeah, I'm going to. So basically, we start with the King of the Devils. I'm assuming that's one person, and then it's the Prince of the Devils, and then it's devils. I'm like, there's no mention of any queen or princesses, which is interesting.
There never is.
Devils, right? Until the one demon decides that he's going to have a queen as his equal.
Okay, I lied. It is there. However, when you start the book, it skips it.
I fucking hate that in Kindle Unlimited.
Yeah.
I always go back and check because that's where it skips the trigger warnings
skip the trigger. I had no idea the trigger warning was there.
Which is wild. Yeah. Yeah. That's so annoying.
Yeah. So I'm very sorry. It is there. However, I didn't see it.
Yeah. If you do start it, you might skip it too. So yeah, king of devils, prince of devils, devils, demons, which are offspring of a devil and another paranormal being. And then wraiths, which are offspring of a demon and another paranormal being. Other immortal paranormal beings are vampires, shapeshifters, familiars, and ghosts. And mortal paranormal beings are necromancers, seers, witches, and specters. And our main character is a necromancer. Mm-hmm. Just gonna spoil that for all of us.
We'll find out very soon.
Yes. And then the classification of ghosts. So phantoms are on the top. They're the most corporeal and powerful type of ghost. Poltergeists are a type of ghost able to possess the corporeal vessel of another being. I'm assuming that's going to be just humans because, like, can they possess other paranormal beings?
Mortal ones they can.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that makes sense because it seems like the mortal ones just like have a bit of magic.
Yeah.
Apparitions are the most common type of ghosts, and they're what we think of as ghosts is how I kind of took it.
Yeah.
And if they're left lingering too long, they can deteriorate into a ghoul. And ghoul is an apparition that has deteriorated into a numb, mindless entity.
So it's like a zombie ghost.
Yeah. Yeah. So
or supernatural ghost.
Yes. Yeah. Well, yeah, because, like, when you first... not to get too into supernatural, but when you first become a ghost in the supernatural world, you are like an apparition.
Yeah.
And then you devolve with the need for revenge into a ghoul.
Yeah.
Not always revenge, but, like, we did see a very prominent case of that happening in the show.
Yeah. And, like, the need for revenge, the need to, like, be seen, the fact that, like, your family members don't acknowledge you and see you, and then you watch them all die as life goes on, and you're stuck in the same sort of thing, and you just, you devolve into this kind of madness and become hell-bent on revenge and violence. So, to me, that's where my mind took it, was...
Yeah. 100%. I didn't connect that myself, but I actually don't think I... have read through the list that in-depthly until right this moment. I was like, hierarchy, don't care.
Now, it will, though, like, it does explain it in book, and I took my notes, I was like, info dump here, because she thinks, like, our main character thinks, okay, we mentioned apparitions. I'm gonna go through all the different ghost types and explain each one. And you know what I mean? Like, it does all of that. So, they're my little info dumps. You don't really
need the hierarchy.
No, it explains it.
Yeah. There was one spot where it kind of came up and it was like saying the difference between apparitions and ghouls. And I was like, I'll just say it at the beginning instead of typing it now. So I kind of fucked you over.
It's fine.
So, yeah. We get a prologue, which I actually forgot happened.
I wonder if I go back.
It's very short.
I just want to go back and, like, look at it again to see if it makes any more sense. Because it does not make sense.
No. Well, no, it doesn't. But it's just literally a devil, and he asks a woman her decision, and she says, "You tricked me," and he's too close to her to think, and it's kind of like sexual tension-y. And then she thinks that the events leading up to this moment are burned into her mind with vivid clarity. So it's like it seems like we get this and then we're going into a flashback.
Yeah.
But that's all I really know. So I'm assuming the woman is Ophelia, and I'm assuming the devil is a devil. Was it a devil or a demon?
Devil. And it was the devil with a capital D.
So it's probably the top
yeah.
one, the king of the devils. Yeah. So, interesting. So, we start off the book 3 nights to Phantasma, and we meet Ophelia Grimm, and she's taking a locket off of her dead mother's throat and putting it on. And her sister Genevieve is watching, and she slices her inner arm and then lights a candle, and she pushes it into the circle, and the candles around her mother's body light up. So we kind of flash back a tiny bit, and or she thinks back to, she woke up because she felt magic and found her mother dead. And there were no signs of foul play, and she wouldn't have woken up if she didn't feel something in the air. And she thinks if she hadn't have woken up, she would have been too late. And we're like, too late for what? Her mother's already dead.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm so confused by this whole thing, and I can't wait for the explanation, because, like, obviously there's foul play. I don't care what you say. Her mother died. Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I thought you meant that you were confused as to what she was doing, and I was like, I don't think we're going to get an explanation for that.
Well, I mean, we did, like, they tell us what she's doing, but, like...
No, I know, I mean, yeah.
But, yeah, no, this whole...
What happened to her mother? Yeah. There's something there. And I'm like, something is starting this turn of events to force all of this to happen. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, is it going to be like a devil started this, knowing that, like, Ophelia... Because, like, in our paranormal beings thing, there are also seers. Like, did we get, like, prophecy. Did somebody talk to a seer? Or, yeah.
Oh, my God. Like, oh, my God, I have a theory. Okay. What if reincarnation is a thing? Mm-hmm. What if Ophelia is a reincarnated lover of whoever? Mm-hmm. And she has to... What if her decisions in her pre-incarnated life mm-hmm. caused the issue that her lover is having, and only she can fix it? And so what if, because we learn very shortly that her mother sort of been a hard ass on her, training her, what if her mother knew this was going to happen, knew that she was going to die early and Ophelia was going to have to take everything over, and was being a hard ass on her on purpose so that Ophelia could fix whatever it was in her pre-incarnated life that was ruined? Yeah. That's my theory.
I feel like that's a good theory. I feel like her mother maybe did know that she was going to die.
Or maybe she made a deal. The mother did.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because we do see pretty quickly what kinds of some of the deals are. So, like, it might not be foul play. It just might be that she bargained her years away. Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. I also kind of wondered, like, could Genevieve have just done it?
I don't think so. I don't think she would push that on Ophelia, though.
I know, but she was like, I'll do it in the middle of the night. Maybe she won't wake up.
Good point.
I don't know. We're just throwing shit on the wall.
We are,
here. Yeah. It would be interesting. And I don't think the second book would go in the direction that you mentioned outside of this call if her sister was that evil.
No. Yes.
Anyway, so Ophelia thinks back, and she thinks, like, she knows she did her routines before bed and, like, knocked on her headboard and her knuckles on the wall. So, like, this can't be her fault. Because the voice in her head tells her that she needs to do these things, or someone's going to die, or bad consequence. So she thinks, like, she did do those, so that's not why her mother died. But she does wonder if the body will disappear, like happens, I guess, sometimes in her mind. Like, she'll imagine gruesome scenes and then they'll just disappear, which sounds like part of her OCD. But she hears Genevieve sob behind her, so she's like, okay, this is real. And she tells her to go get matches, and she sets up. Ophelia is now the oldest Grimm, and she only has a little bit of time to get this done, presumably. And the shadow voice in her head taunts her, but she's been trained for this her whole life, which is kind of what you said. Like, her mother's a super hard ass, like, training her to take over. But if she doesn't finish the spell, she will stay the way she is now, or she can continue her family legacy if she finishes the spell. And we're like, we don't know at this point what that legacy is.
Can I just, I'm not crazy about the family legacy. Like, it's a pretty, I don't know. I found it a little bit of a, like, that's a little lame. Like, you know, for for her to be so like, oh, this is my legacy, it's so important.
Yeah. I guess it's her mother kind of was beating it into her, it seems like. But, or do you mean, like,
but like
what she gets? Yeah.
No, I mean, like, so, again, we'll find out in, like, a chapter, so it doesn't really matter that I say it now. So, like, her mom has been a necromancer and, like, has just been, like, people are coming to her and being like, can you contact my grandmother for me? And she does it. And that's the legacy, is just being available to the people of New Orleans whenever they have like, whenever they want to contact someone who died. And that's the legacy. And in my brain, like, that's not a great legacy. Like, not that it's not bad. It's not a bad legacy, but it's not, like...
No.
It's not something worth, like, your life over.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean.
And for her to get so worked up over it and being like, I'm gonna throw my life away so that I can be a part of this legacy.
Sit here and stay in this house. And, yeah, that's a good point. I think it kind of explains, maybe in a few chapters, that it's only her grandmother that set up in New Orleans, and then her mother made this business, I guess, what it is.
I don't know, because she also says a little bit later in the book that, like, hundreds of years of women in her family have been doing what this is.
Yeah, but I just, like, probably not in this one house, right. In this, like, I think that's what she said. So, like, I do wonder if, we don't know where the book is going, but I do wonder if, like, Ophelia will make a different legacy out of it and, like, do different things. Because it does seem kind of like, I know they can actually do it, so it isn't really a cash grab, but it does seem like kind of a bit of a cash grab for, like, humans that are missing their loved ones. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I do wonder, like, I do feel like I kind of took that as a whole of, like, the legacy of having magic, not the legacy of, like, being in this town working. You know what I mean? So, yeah. So she only has a little bit of time, and the shadow voice in her head is taunting her, but she's trained for this. I already said that, sorry. So basically, Genevieve tells her she doesn't have to do this, and she thinks she needs to be good. And this goes back to, like, her mother telling her, I guess, her whole life that this is what she needs to do. So she recites the spell that she's practiced every night of her life, presumably, and magic swells in the air, and she draws a symbol in her blood over her heart, and then she waits. And she starts to spiral and think, like, oh shit, it's not gonna work. I did something wrong. But then, like, her bones feel like they're on fire, and it just sounds painful, but she starts to scream as she gets her mother's magic. And then she commands the dark, and it responds. And I was like, what does that mean? Is that, like, because we get later that you shouldn't look into the dark. So it's like, is she commanding a devil to give her the power? Not sure. But it responds, the candlelights turn grim blue, and we get that her eyes turned from blue to the white that her mother and her ancestors' eyes were. And that's like part of the magic. And she can see apparitions of her ancestors in the room. And then there's another apparition by the window that just like smiles and disappears. And I'm like, is that important? Do we ever get anything about that? I don't know. But Ophelia's proud that she did it, but it does really like kind of push home the fact that her mother's dead, that she was able to get the magic.
Yeah.
Which is obviously sad. Genevieve asks if she's okay, and she taps her locket 3 times, and she like feels a heartbeat in her locket.
Like, I wonder, is this like the first time she's felt? Because that locket has like a reoccurring role, I guess, in the book. So like, I wonder, like, has the locket always sort of been this guiding light for her, or is this sort of the first time?
Well, she took it off of, it's her mother's locket.
Oh, okay. Well, then never mind.
So.
I missed that part.
Yeah. So she never had it, but I guess until she got the magic, she couldn't feel it, maybe? Not really sure.
I guess, so wait, she just took it off her mother and put it on herself?
Yeah.
That's weird for her to have a tick for it already, of the tapping 3 times. Like, that's like a...
I think just if she taps anything, she taps it 3 times.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, now we jump to 2 nights to Phantasma, and we kind of get a bit of her backstory, which is a lot of what this week is kind of like setting up the story, which is usually pretty slow. So, but we get that as a kid with a necromancer mother, there were lots of bodies and graveyard trips and talks of demon viruses in New Orleans, and lessons on the types of entities in the world. So this is where we kind of get that her mother's a necromancer. So I guess it's the next day, and she wakes up and she sees ghosts, and she's ignoring them, but some taunt her if they notice that she can see them. I feel like this is kind of like a common theme of like, if you can see ghosts, you just pretend you can't, or they'll think that, or they'll start talking to you. Like, it happens in a lot of books, I find. So they spend her and Genevieve spend the morning preparing the body and getting everything together. And we get like, necromancers don't do funerals since they have a connection to the dead. So they just go to the coroner's office to kind of say goodbye. And Ophelia thinks like she'll need to use some magic soon because you can't let it build up. And she thinks that in this moment. And I'm like, does she ever use it? Not really.
I don't think the build-up is the same as, like, a lot of the other stuff we've seen.
Yeah.
Like, we've seen this trope many times.
Yes.
And I don't think maybe it's with the same amount of intensity.
Yeah, I don't think she has as much magic as some other characters we've seen have. Mm-hmm. So I guess Genevieve just like complains about the humidity in her hair and says that hell is probably less hot, which kind of just gives way for us to get a bit of info that devils and most entities can only be summoned with the right words or names. So I guess that's important. I guess we'll find out. And we also get that like Genevieve and Ophelia had completely different childhoods, and Genevieve didn't learn all the same lessons because she wasn't preparing to become the magic necromancer person. And Ophelia obviously was, so she had a lot of a harder upbringing. So Ophelia learned how to reanimate corpses, to do her bidding, how to talk to the dead, and how to not get possessed. But in all of her teachings, she was intrigued by the 9 circles of hell the most, which is interesting because it means that she's like...
Of course she was.
Yeah. And she liked the fantastical elements, the handsome devils and demons, and it reminded her of dark romance books that she's read. And you're like, damn, we're getting...
Yeah, she's... she's... Both her and her sister, they're a bit spicy.
Yes, yes, they are. So Ophelia, like, and this is a bit of a common thing in the beginning, at least, she's kind of struggling with the concept of having this magic and feeling anxious. And the shadow voice in her head tells her if they don't make it home before dark, her and Genevieve will die. So she's like, shit. The voice has always been in her head, making her walk through doors a certain number of times or a certain way, and knock a certain amount of times on things. And when she was young, she was worried that she was possessed, but her mother told her that the voice wasn't real. And this is where, like, I guess I kind of assume that her mother also had it as well, but I don't know. Or her mother's just really up to date for a woman in the, early 1900s?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know.
Yeah, the time period of this book was a struggle at the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely was. So yeah, they see their mother, and she's in a dark dress and she looks ghostly, but we get that she won't become an apparition because that happens within hours. So she must have moved on. Which sounds like it's probably a good thing. But Ophelia doesn't feel like this is actually goodbye. And I'm like, yeah, because you could
call her back.
Animate her corpse.
But, like, I guess here's the thing that I question. So she is making this, like, sort of not explaining it in a great way. Like, what her mother's business has been. Because her mom, she just says that, like, people come to the house for appointments. And her mother, like, contacted their deceased loved ones for them and stuff like that. But she's also saying that she sewed her mother's eyes shut so that, like, she can't be reanimated. And, like, also, she's done some things to make sure she passes on and can't come back. So, like, do you have to have not moved on to the afterlife in order to... in order to be summoned as a apparition or ghost for her to talk to? Or, like, can she talk to people that have moved on? Because the way she's explaining it makes it seem like she can't.
I know, which is why I'm kind of like, I was kind of confused too as to, like, how she thinks that this, like, she'll see her mother again. I don't really get it, but we also don't know a lot about anything yet of her magic.
Yeah.
Other than the necromancy part. Or maybe it's just, like, a feeling she has. She's like, this isn't the end. And maybe she's completely wrong. Maybe this never comes back. So yeah, the coroner brings her papers, and he taps her hand with a pen, and she takes the pen out of his hand and has to tap her hands twice more to hit that 3 number. And then she signs the papers, but he asks them if they'll reconsider and get an autopsy. And Genevieve, like, she has a sharp mouth on her. She just says that it's bad enough that Ophelia showed her eyes shut, and they're not going to have an autopsy. And Ophelia's just like, girl, you got to shut up. Like, they don't want people to know about the sewing their eyes shut. So, like we said, sewing your eyes shut with demon-blessed thread means that you can't be necromanced. So they don't want regular mortals to realize that, or they won't be able to necromance them. So Genevieve gives him the obituary, and he tells them to take their time saying goodbye. And they kind of talk about how she's not coming back, and how it, like, they're just really accepting that this was just a regular death. They're like, it must have been a fluke of a heart issue, and, like, they're probably fine. Which just seems kind of, what's the word? It seems naive.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. And now that we kind of talked about, like, feeling like the mother gave away years of her life, I'm feeling like that makes a lot more sense, because it also makes sense as to why she was such a hard ass of, like, getting her ready, because she knew she would die young.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I'm assuming her mother does come back, or somebody knows her mother. Like, maybe one of the devils tells Ophelia or something. There's got to be something else to this. But anyway, Ophelia says that she can't do this alone, and Genevieve says no one expects her to be perfect. But Ophelia thinks, like, their mother did, and she does too. And their grandmother, this is where we get, like, their grandmother brought the necromancy business here, and their mother made it an attraction. And now Ophelia has to take it on all by herself. And she tells Genevieve, like, she isn't bound to stay here like Ophelia is. And Ophelia kind of thinks, like, she's angry at her mother that she left so soon, and keeping the angry feeling kind of keeps the grief away, which, you know,
you do
fair.
you.
Yeah. Genevieve tries to tell her she doesn't need to take it on, but she stops her. And I'm like, maybe we shouldn't be having this conversation over your dead mother's body. Like, maybe let it rest for a few days. Not the body. I mean, like,
the idea
the
that she's
the
dead.
feelings. Yeah. Yeah. But no, let's have it right over. Jesus Christ. Yeah, so Genevieve's trying to tell her she doesn't need to do this, but Ophelia just, like, immediately stops her, knowing that Genevieve, like, dreams of traveling, but Ophelia now needs to take over Grim Manor, and, like, it is what it is. So they say their goodbyes to their mother, and then the shadow voice tells her to knock on the door 3 times in the next 5 seconds, or she'll die. And Genevieve realizes, like, Genevieve knows that she has OCD, so she realizes it's the voice, but Ophelia runs to the door and knocks on it. So they leave, and then they're outside, and there's, like, a strange tension in the air, and Ophelia kind of notices, like, there aren't many people around, which is kind of odd. And she says that they need to get home, but Genevieve says it must be because of the rain that nobody's out. But Ophelia has, like, a pit in her stomach, and she's not really sure if, like, this is something in her head or if she should trust her feelings. So she's kind of just like, yeah, maybe Genevieve's right. Genevieve then sees some friends in a cafe, and she's like, I'll be right back. And Ophelia's just, like, doesn't know any of her friends or have ever met them. And the shadow voice tells her that she should hate Genevieve for making friends while Ophelia was stuck at home learning about necromancy. But she shuts it down because obviously she loves her sister. 2 guys walking by start talking about a Pharaoh Henry guy and say that he won't make it 2 nights. And then they go in and talk to Genevieve. And we kind of start to get, like, little pieces of information that we aren't really putting together, but it's, like, kind of slowly explaining what Phantasma is. Then she sees an apparition, and she just kind of seems like she has a bit of a meltdown, and she's just like, I'm not her. Because she knows that everyone, like, ghosts are coming probably, or she expects that ghosts are coming to talk to her mother to get help, and she's just, like, not ready for that right now. And she tells it to go away. And the ghost goes to talk to her, but someone walks through them and says that it's near the cemetery. I kind of wonder, is that the same ghost that she saw in the house earlier? Like, is there going to be a ghost that's just, like, following her around trying to talk to her but never gets the chance? I don't know. Ophelia goes into the cafe and tells Genevieve that it's getting dark and they should go. So Genevieve says her goodbyes, and Ophelia asks about them, and Genevieve says they're just acquaintances. And Ophelia can see, like, a bunch of different ghosts, and she asks to be distracted and tells Genevieve to, like, tell her what they were talking about. And she says that they were talking about Pharaoh Henry, who is an eligible bachelor. And he actually asked Genevieve to one of the balls that are happening here. I don't know. But he actually stood her up and went with someone else. So he sounds like a dick. But then Genevieve says she went to the parade later, I guess, a few days later maybe, I don't know, and fucked his best friend on the back of a float as revenge.
So this is sort of why I was sort of like, the time period is so weird, because, like, on one hand, they're going to balls, like, it feels very sort of like, you know, there are carriages and horses and all kinds of stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, I don't know if you mentioned much about, like, their attire, but they're wearing, like, gowns,
corsets and dresses,
which I don't know if corsets was a thing in the early 1900s. Like, I don't think that was a part of it. I think corsets were much earlier. But I digress. I feel like you just say corsets to make it feel old-timey. But, and then on the other hand, you've got her, like, giving, I don't care about, like, I'm not saying that it's important. It's not. But in the time period, you didn't do that. If you were a proper, like, if you wanted to be seen as a well-bred, like, person worth, like, marrying, which was a goal for most women at the time, you didn't want to be a spinster.
Yeah.
Like, you didn't go around fucking anybody. You wouldn't even be alone with a dude. But, like, they're here walking around town, no escort, no, like, chaperone in sight.
Yeah, it is. It's weird. And I don't know if it's because I just don't know a lot, because I just looked it up, and it said, like, corsets kind of went out of style in the U.S. in 1920s. And that's kind of when there was an overlap of carriages and cars. So, like, it could be a very specific time frame that I just don't really know a lot about. Because, like, I feel like, you know, Victorian puritanical stuff, like, that is a big trope. Yeah. And then, like, common stuff is a big trope. But, like, this kind of time period that I don't really know enough about that time. But I feel like women still kind of, like, had escorts. And even nowadays, like, you wouldn't have sex in the back of a parade float.
No! Like, that's cheeky even for, like,
now. And, like, I don't know what parade floats look like then, but to me, I think that they're just, like, out in the open. Like, where are you going in this float?
I'm
like,
sure there's a little place you could tuck away.
Oh yeah.
I don't think it would just be, like, out in the open.
No. I hope not. That would be a whole new spin on this book.
But yeah, I just find this is a bit...
It's confusing for my brain. And also, like, I'm sure if you lived in the States or you lived in New Orleans, you might know more about the history of...
Yeah.
Maybe it makes sense.
Maybe it does.
But I don't know anything.
Yeah. And yeah, sorry. My knowledge on corsets comes from... It comes from a fashion historian who's based in England, so a lot of my knowledge comes from European style of dress, not American style of dress.
Yeah. Which, that's what I think of too. I don't even think of really American style corsets other than, like, you know, the ones that are around in, like, the 90s and now of, like, that kind of shit. But, yeah, so it did really confuse us. And I also just, sometimes with books in the States, I do get confused about things anyway. I was like, why do we need to name this town? Like, why do we have to be in New Orleans? Like, this could just be nowhere if you don't say a name. And maybe it matters to, like, the plot, and maybe, like, anybody who knows New Orleans would be like, yeah, that's here, or I don't know. And that shit's cool. I do like when you can do that, but I just don't know a lot. So yeah. We heard about Pharaoh Henry. Honestly, I don't know if he ever comes back, but it does sound like he went into Phantasma, so maybe. But Genevieve doesn't bring up the Phantasma part. She just says that they were talking about him, and then tells her story about him. So it does make it seem like she's kind of, either the men didn't talk about it once they got inside, they didn't talk about him going into Phantasma, or she's keeping secrets. So yeah, we then get that their mother had 2 rules about night: that if the dark looks at you, you don't look back because it's a devil, which it just seems like wild. And we get that Ophelia has never met one. And the second rule was never make a deal or you'll lose your soul. And that's something that tourists don't realize because they flock here. Which is also an interesting, it's an interesting concept that, a lot of tourists come here and then just make deals with the devil and don't realize it. I don't really get yet how much the real world knows about magic. Are there necromancers in other places? Because later we kind of get a scene where a guy is kind of confused.
Yeah. The world is a bit confusing. Because, is it... it's just a bit confusing as to whether or not, the people, regular mortals know about magic or not.
Yeah. I really... Some do, some don't. And it kind of seems like if they're not from there, they don't know much. But if they're from there, it seems like the locals all know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Me neither. Yeah, so... And now we get another confusing thing, because we get that people walking by them look at them a bit odd, and she's not sure if it's because they're alone / without an escort. Oh. Or if it's because their mother's death has gotten out to people and they're looking at her with pity. So she's not sure which one it is. But it is kind of funny. You're like, does that... what is happening? So she kind of glares at these people, and Genevieve says that she has her mother's gift to unsettle, and she's a bit hard to look at now because of, I guess, the new color of her eyes. And we get that Genevieve would have refused to take on the family magic if it had come down to her. And also, if Ophelia doesn't have children, then they're never going.
Yeah, they're not.
It ends with them. Yeah, it ends with Ophelia.
Which, good for Genevieve on knowing her limits.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. So we also get that Genevieve wouldn't go out with their mother in case her friends saw her with her, and I don't know if that's just because her mother's eccentric, or if I'm not really sure. Is it her eyes? Is it that she has magic? Is it because she's a bit odd?
Yeah.
I'm not really sure. And now that Ophelia's taken over, is that gonna happen to her?
Yeah. And she's worried about that too, but we're not getting anything from Genevieve, her point of view at this point. So we don't. No. She definitely has some unresolved feelings about her mother, but we don't know what it is yet.
Yeah, exactly. We also just kind of get out of nowhere that Ophelia doesn't really have any friends, which we could kind of tell based on her being like, oh, look at that. But we do get that she's had a few suitors and it has just ended in sex and then fizzled out, and it's just oh, okay, interesting.
Yeah.
It's another moment of Okay. Genevieve looks over her shoulder and starts to say something. And then she's like, Ophelia's like, what? And she's like, no, my friends just mentioned something. And then she just stops and doesn't say what she was going to say. So I'm like, was that about Phantasma? Like, what is that about? And then she just says that she's cold and they should get home. And Ophelia says that they should get a carriage. And presumably they do. And then it's one night to Phantasma. And Ophelia wakes up to someone knocking on the front door. And she didn't sleep well, which, like, obviously not surprising. Grief and such. There are two men on the step. And we kind of get a bit of info that, like, apparitions can't cross red roses. So the house and the gates are covered in roses to keep apparitions out or to keep them inside of the house if her mother was doing, like, work and stuff. So it's like... It's super...
I totally missed that, I'm not gonna lie. I read right past that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I like it.
Makes me want to, like, cover my house in roses. But then if you did get a ghost, you'd never get them out. Anyway, Genevieve comes down and says that there are no appointments, obviously, because their mother, I guess, has appointments with people already set. But they say that they're from the bank and they're here because of their mother's death and the estate. And Genevieve is just like, don't worry about it, Ophelia. I'll deal with it. You go back to bed. And it's super obvious what's happening in this part. And I'm kind of glad they didn't make Ophelia too dumb to notice, because I was kind of waiting for that to happen.
Yeah.
Because it's like just so obvious. But one of the men then, this is kind of where I was kind of confused about the magic system, but one of the men asks if the place is haunted, and the other man says that he's not from here, which is kind of why I was like, well, is it only New Orleans that has, like, haunted stuff?
I'm wondering if maybe it's, like, a way of life of, like, because, like, just from, like, media and, like, you know, how New Orleans is portrayed, is it's portrayed as a haunted sort of a place, but that people embrace it and, like, accept it. And they're like, yeah, it's haunted, of course. Like, it's fine. And, like, have a healthy respect for it. Whereas this guy makes it seem like, oh, I don't want to be here. Is this place haunted? Like, he's afraid of it. So I'm wondering if maybe they're like, oh, he's not from here. As if that's why he knows he's afraid. He doesn't understand.
Yeah, that makes sense. I guess I don't really know a lot about New Orleans, to be honest.
I don't either.
Yeah.
So,
but I guess it does make sense.
I'm just going off of what I've seen on, like, in movies and TV. I've never, my parents have been there, and, you know, so, like,
oh yeah,
so just things I've heard, and, like, you know, they do a lot of their tours revolve around, like, haunted stuff, and I just feel like, you know, what with, I think, voodoo, not that it's popular, but, like, it is commonly known that, like, a lot of voodoo practice, like, started there, maybe, like, the tradition of that, so, like, I feel like maybe they're into, like, it's a very, like, spiritual place.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I've never been there and don't really know a lot. Maybe someday. Not anytime soon, though. So yeah, one guy asks if it's haunted. The other guy says he's not from here and doesn't know about the types of beings they have. And the first guy just says, like, he thought that he was joking about, like, apparitions being real. And they said something about necromancy, and he's like, what the fuck? And then the guys ask them to come to the bank, and Genevieve offers to go, and Ophelia's just like, do you guys have any ID? Like, we're not leaving with you unless we know you're actually from the bank, which I love. Yeah. I love that she checks. But they are legit, and Genevieve tries to get her to stay, but they're both named, so they both have to go. So they lock up, and obviously Ophelia is having some anxiety because she thinks, like, there shouldn't be anything wrong with their finances, and they should have enough inheritances in their name to buy... That's a word, I swear.
Love it.
To buy 3 estates. So she's like, she doesn't know what this could be about. They get into a car, which is kind of where you're like, wait, we were talking about carriages, now cars. And it seems like they're kind of rare. So this must have been like the turnover point of carriage to car. And they smell gross, obviously, because fuel and stuff you're not used to with a carriage.
Although you deal with horse poop.
I know, I was literally just thinking that. And they have like there's a folding seat, and I'm like, they have to crawl back into the back. I'm like, that sucks. But a carriage does come up, and a woman has an appointment at 8 a.m. And I'm like, these bank guys are here super fucking early.
But I guess...
Knock on the door before 8.
I guess, like, in this time period, maybe you wake up when the sun gets up. Like, who knows?
Maybe. I would have been pissed. But yeah, a woman shows up and she has an appointment at 8, and Genevieve just says, like, she's very abrupt. She's like, well, she's dead, so there's no appointments. And Ophelia's like, I'm really sorry. We mean to let people know. We just haven't gotten around to it yet. So it's showing, like, Genevieve is really... abrupt is the right word for a lot of it, but it's also like...
She also seems to resent very much her mother, not just her mother's... And I don't know if it's the power exactly, but her mother very much... Genevieve seems to very much resent what her mother has chosen to do with it. And what Ophelia is now responsible for doing with it.
Yes, yeah.
Because, like, Genevieve just, I think, just wants to get out. She just wants to get out of this town, wants to get out of this house. She wants to, like, go explore, have adventures, and she wants Ophelia to come with her. It's her sister. She loves her. And Ophelia seems more like, no, this is my duty. This is my family legacy that I stay here and I, like, do this for these people.
Yeah.
And
I kind of wonder, like, is it easier there because it does seem like New Orleans is more open to that kind of stuff? Like, is it an easier place to live for her now that she does have magic and her eyes are white? I
guess. I'm more thinking too that, like, I wonder, is there, like, is it, I don't know, it just feels like Genevieve just doesn't want any part of it.
Yeah. Do you think there's any, like, there's no dad in the picture. Do you think there's any, like, resentment or jealousy that, like, the mother didn't really have time for her to?
Could be.
Like, that's an interesting, we haven't really come out and said it, but we did kind of say that the second book is about a different person. But you said that you looked it up, and the second book is about Genevieve. So, like, it'll be interesting to get in her head, because I do wonder, like, does she have some resentment for her mother only caring about Ophelia? Like, how was her childhood? It wasn't as strict, it seems like, but was it just being ignored?
Could be.
Maybe, like, there's some resentment there. She's an interesting person. I'll give her that. So, yeah. So they're in the vehicle, and the men are just talking amongst themselves, and they say that it's true, and it just appeared. And Ophelia looks out the window, and she sees a bunch of people, and her locket pulses. And one man says he thought people were mad to believe the rumors, and the fools who enter the gate deserve what they get. And we're just like, what's going on? And Ophelia just, like, doesn't really care, because obviously she's worried about the finances. And her mother implied that the estate was paid off. So she wonders if, like, there's a tax on their inheritance. And she's like, they don't really have anything to sell. The only valuable thing that she has is the locket. And because she's thinking about it, she thinks it pulses again. And we get like, it's been in her family for ages. And it's a powerful magic bound to the wearer. And her mother said that it guided her. And it would one day guide Ophelia. And it sounds like it's like gold with a ruby. And on the back it says, follow your heart. Which is interesting. Yes. Because on the front of the book, it's like, the only thing deadlier than losing the game is losing your heart. So you're like, what's gonna happen? So she tries to open the locket, but it doesn't budge. And she thinks like her mother wasn't lying about that, which is interesting. I'm like, what the fuck is in there? Is it like a spell?
No, there's definitely a note from her like pre-incarnated self. And it's only gonna open when she remembers who she really is.
Yeah, could be. I just wonder if it's like, it's been guiding them for possibly generations. At least her mother wore it, and now she's wearing it. I'm wondering if it's like getting her into this game, and like, is that gonna set off events of some sort? I don't know. Anyway. Genevieve tells her that she's fidgeting, and she's just like, well, I'm nervous, aren't you? And Genevieve just looks away and says it'll all be fine. And you're like, you're being like, so what sketch. Will be fine? Yeah. And Ophelia asks if she knows something, but they just get to the bank, so that conversation stopped. We kind of skip to when they're inside, and the guy just tells them that their mother stopped making payments earlier this year, and the bank started foreclosing the house 2 months ago. And in 30 days, the manor will be owned by the bank. And they need to sign a paper here saying that they understand, but Ophelia doesn't, because she's like, I thought the house was paid off. We've had the house for ages. But they tell her that their mother took out a loan for personal use for $35,000 plus interest and has only paid back $5,000. And he shows them like the checks of her paying back, which I don't really know why they kept those other than like evidence for the reader and Ophelia. But she sees that 3 of the checks are clearly signed by her mother and 2 look like the person hesitated. So she's like, those weren't signed by her mother. She asks if they can buy the house back, like after it's foreclosed on, but he basically tells her the only chance is if they can pay back the money, which is $30,000, in 30 days before it forecloses, because the city has their sights on that land and the demolition date is already set, and they're going to build like housing or a hotel there, basically. So they're kind of fucked. They have 30 days. So he suggests they sign it over now, but she just refuses to sign anything. And he says like, it's just a legal formality. There's nothing you can do unless you can get $30,000 in the next 30 days. And she's just like, fuck. So she grabs the papers and they leave. And Ophelia is kind of like panicking because she didn't expect this at all. So she runs to an alley and just sits down. And the shadow voice tells her like she's already failing and to knock on the wall 3 times. So she does. Genevieve catches up and says they should discuss this. But Ophelia says there's nothing to discuss. They aren't signing it over. And she says that like 2 of the checks were forged. So who knows what else the bank is lying about. And you're like,
girl.
She really this dumb?
I know, that whole thing, I was just like, girl, come on.
Yeah. Genevieve tells her, like, this is an opportunity to leave, but Ophelia can't fail. And Genevieve says that she's holding herself back. And Ophelia just says, like, it doesn't matter what she wants. And then she kind of, like, snaps. And I do think... Again, I don't think this is the time and place for them to be having this conversation.
In the alleyway? Maybe not.
Yeah. I'm just like, can we, like, give her some time? She just found out her mother's dead. She just found out her home's gone. Like, let's give her some time to think and chill. Minute. No. So she snaps and says, tells Genevieve to let it go. And their mother's not going to be there to coddle her anymore. And it'll be Ophelia cleaning up her messes now, which is obviously a shitty thing to say. Genevieve says she's not asking her to clean up her messes and she wants to help. And Ophelia asks if she's going to help by forging checks. And we're like, okay, good. She's not as dumb as we thought she was for a second there.
I don't understand then why she's blaming the bank for lying when she knew it was Genevieve who forged the checks. What is the bank lying about then?
Yeah, I think she was just wanted that to be true. Or it was to misdirect the reader. Like, she had to know all along it was Genevieve.
Well, who else would know her mother's signature that well?
Well, I guess the bank could have known her mother's signature because they have bigger checks. But yeah, I was glad that she said that because I was like, are we really going to have her be this oblivious to Genevieve being so caged up about this and sketchy?
She was very cagey and sketchy the whole time.
Yeah. So Genevieve just says she did what she thought was right at the time. And Ophelia asks why she didn't come to her and where she got the money. And Genevieve says it doesn't matter because she bought them the time that they needed and now they can move on. And I'm like, A. So she got the money from someone. I'm assuming it's going to be a sketchy guy. B. She bought them time. Did she know her mother was going to die? Because she only bought this much time. Now they only have 30 days. Like, this is why I was kind of like, does Genevieve know something? Like, did she kill the mother? I don't really think she did. But I do wonder if she knows something. Ophelia, like, asks about the money again, but Genevieve won't say where she got it. And Ophelia just says, like, it tells her enough that Genevieve's going to be in over her head and it's going to be Ophelia's job to fix it. Just like the issue they're in now with the house. She's got to fix that. Genevieve's face falls and she just, like, runs away. And Ophelia gets up but can't catch up to her. So Ophelia walks around the city the rest of the day, and she figures that Genevieve probably just went home, so thinks that she should give her some time. And I guess a day passes, and it starts to get dark, so she decides to walk home. And she hears someone say they're opening the gates tomorrow night, and that the last competition had the most casualties in the last 2 decades. 27 people died, and over 100 people entered, but people dropped out. And someone's like, those are the smart ones that dropped out. And then another person's like, well, smart people don't enter. And then they, like, drop a newspaper on the ground conveniently. So Ophelia looks through it and we finally get that everybody's been talking about Phantasma. And there's an article and it says that Phantasma arrives in New Orleans. And I think it's like October 23rd or 28th. I can't remember. But we're in the month of October. And the article says that Phantasma is a competition of nightmares, but the magical prize keeps people joining. So she starts walking home thinking it can't be true. The Devil's Manor is a rumor. And then she just thinks back to, like, the bank guy's conversation. And she thinks about her conversation with Genevieve then, because she's like, Phantasma doesn't matter to me. And then her brain is like, she knows she has 36 minutes to get home, basically, because she knows where she is.
36 minutes. It feels very, like,
it is very
exact.
Yes. She sees a blue flash and she breaks her mom's rule and looks into the dark. And you're like, I don't understand how you can't look into the dark if you're walking and it's dark.
So I guess she's not allowed out during the dark, like when it's dark outside. But also, like, does that include, like, in her house? If she's in a dark part of her house, can she not look where she's going? Like, does she always have to have a candle?
She needs to have a nightlight.
I don't know.
I guess. It's a bit of a, I guess, look into the dark with intention of seeing something, maybe, is what it's meant to be, but it is just kind of funny. So yeah, she sees this blue flash and she looks in the dark and she walks towards a gate and leans on it and it just like swings open a bit. So she walks in and just says hello. And you're like, this is fucking dumb. She does a lot of stuff that I'm like, why are you doing
She's like, my mom told me not to do this. I think I'm gonna do it.
I'm gonna do it all. And like, yeah, maybe it is like a bit of rebelling against her mother who like pushed her entire life and now she's dead.
But
she's
it also
like,
doesn't seem conscious either.
No,
it's not a conscious choice to be like, my mom told me not to do this, well, I'm gonna do it. She just like is thinking about, oh, my mom told me not to do this. My mom told me I shouldn't.
Anyway.
Okay, here goes.
Yeah. So she walks into the gate, she turns around, and someone says, can you see me? And she can't, which she thinks is odd, because she should be able to see them all now that she has, like, her mother's magic. So she says she can hear them. And the voice asks if she's there to entertain
them.
Her, I think.
Or entertain herself?
I think. No, entertain the ghost. Entertain them. She says no, and they say that they're bored and that they can play a game. And then a different voice says she shouldn't be here. And the first one says, uh-oh, which is just kind of funny. And then the stranger's energy like rushes over her skin, giving her goosebumps and kind of turning her on. And I was just like, whoa.
I love it.
This is out of nowhere. Okay. So that voice asks if she's lost. And she says no. And she feels like there's a wall in front of her. And they say that there are wards here. And her trespassing woke them. And they ask who she was speaking to. And she just says a ghost. And then this ghost or voice leans in close and says boo in her ear, and she feels them like pressed against her front, and I'm just like, my god, this ghost is getting handsy. Close. The ghost asks who she is and says she looks so familiar.
So
which
again,
is interesting.
Reincarnated version of herself.
I wonder if they know her mother.
Oh, stop.
But
I'd rather it be mine. Yours is too logical.
Yeah. It just, reincarnation, I'm like, it just seems too similar to another series we did. I don't want to spoil it, though.
Oh, okay.
Can you think of it? It has devils in it.
Right, okay. Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
It wasn't
the same. But I see where you're headed. This, and I've talked about this book before. This, and spoiler alert, however, I feel like nobody knows this book exists, so it's fine. I don't even remember the name of it. It reminds me, like, my theory, and I'm wondering if maybe I've thought of this theory because I've read this book. It reminds me of a book series that I read about a succubus, and I feel like I've spoken about it on the podcast before, but like ages and ages ago, about this succubus girl, and she gets her energy through sex with men, but it's like damaging to the men over time. What? Okay.
Nothing.
So it damages them over time, so she purposely picks like assholes.
Oh, okay. I feel like, I have heard.
And I don't know if it's called, like, Succubus Rising or something like that. Anyway, so she meets this guy and actually really likes him, and they start, like, a relationship, and she tries really hard not to feed off him, but she inevitably does sometimes. Tries to break it off with him because she doesn't want to hurt him, whatever, and then, like, they just keep finding each other, and it just evolves into this whole thing of them having, like, before she, like, back in, like, ancient Greece, they fell in love, and she was so sexually insatiable, she cheated on him, and he was enraged in their reincarnated life and, like, cursed her to become a succubus, and then also cursed himself to, like, reincarnate all the time until they found each other again, or until she became true to him, or something, or like that. And, like, I just remember at the end scene, they're in this, like, ancient Grecian, like, god, like, an immortal with, like, the devil or Hades or whatever. They're in, like, a courtroom, and, like,
oh my god.
Anyway. It was definitely... Anyway, so maybe that's where I'm getting this book is going. Maybe that's why.
No, that makes sense.
Imagining that this... Because I've read it before. If anybody has actually read this book series, let me know, because I don't think any other person knows that it exists and has read it before. I don't actually know if it's called Succubus Rising. It sounds like it...
Well, by the description, someone should be able to figure out if they read it.
Yeah, oh, 100%. Anyway, so yeah.
Yeah.
And I think she, like, works in a bookstore or something like that. And he's an author.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, fun.
Anyway.
Yeah. So, Ophelia actually thinks to herself that maybe this person is recognizing her mother's eyes. So she's thinking that. So it is possible that it could be like a complete left flag. Left flag.
A left leg?
That's a thing. I said flag. Like,
I thought you said left
anyway.
leg.
Listen, neither would make sense, so it's fine.
Okay.
So she says that she can't see this apparition or this voice ghosty. So can't say if she knows them. And they say too bad because she's missing out, which I just love. Love a cocky ghost. And something brushes her cheek, and they call her Angel. And then they demand her name, and she doesn't dare answer, even if she wants to. And she asks their name, and they say, good girl. Which is just like, seems like it does something for her.
She's got a praise kink.
Praise kink.
Which is another book I recently read recently called Praise. It's good if anyone wants to read it.
I'm wondering if I read it. I've definitely read I think I read a book
it's
that
good.
name, but so, and then they call her clever, but say she can't be that clever because she's alone in the dark. And she says the dark is for people who are too cowardly to face their actions in the light. And it's like one of her mother's sayings that she just throws out there. And I'm like, but you're in the dark. But she can still feel the warm presence against her. And she likes it because it makes her feel like she's not so alone. And they tell her that she should find where she's supposed to be. And she shouldn't be here. And she asks why. Like why they're here, if that's the case, and who they are, and why she can't see them. But they say those aren't the right questions, and she asks, what is the right question then? And they say, how does one escape from here? And she knows she should leave, but she's intrigued, and like, they touch her from like her jaw to her neck to her shoulder, and it's very
sensual.
Yeah, there's a lot of tension here.
Isn't it weird that she can't see them but can feel them? I find that such an odd, like, sensory thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially since, like, you think of ghosts, you don't think of them being able to touch you.
No, you do not.
So she asks what they mean, escape. And they say, I thought you knew where you were. And she thinks about it for a second, and she's like, yeah, I'm at the old cathedral. And then she realizes where she is and scrambles backwards. And through the fog, she sees, like, a gothic estate, and it says Phantasma on the door. And she's like, oh, shit. So they tell her to go away. Like, a house of devils is no place for an angel. And she asks if they're stuck here, and she asks if she can help. And they ask if she really cares to know, and she says it's her job. And she's thinking, like, she's a necromancer. It's her job to help ghosts and shit. And they ask, what if helping them would cause her harm? And she starts to walk away and hears them say, a heart and a key would set me free, but you should hope we do not meet again, Angel.
Yes, very cryptic. So, Ophelia walks home. She's 2 miles from Grim Manor, and she keeps thinking about this stranger and her encounter with him. The shadow voice in her head whispers that if she doesn't get home in 5 minutes, the manor will crumble to the ground. But, like, she's like, well, shit, I'm too far away. I'm 2 miles away from home. There's no way I'll make it. And, like, she's trying to keep reminding herself that the shadow voice isn't real. Nothing bad's going to happen. But, like, her heart is pounding. She's getting stressed. It's like she can't help it. It is involuntary to listen to that voice.
Mm-hmm. Also, I don't know about, like, 2 miles. It's like 20 minutes.
It's far.
Jogging. Yeah. Like...
So, like, she starts to run. So, like, she's just walking briskly, I would say. And at the 2-minute mark, she starts to run. And then she's at the gates. So, like, it was doable in the 5 minutes, I guess. So, she's, like, approaching the gates. She trips on a fallen branch. And, like, she puts her hands out to catch herself. And these blue sparks shoot out of her hands. And she's like, oh, my magic is getting pent up and needs a release. But yet she doesn't release it.
I guess, is that the release?
Yeah, I
That's
guess.
it? Yeah.
So the voice in her head keeps saying tick-tock, and, like, she's panicking and thrashing around on the ground, trying to get up, and, like, she's getting tangled up in her own skirts. And she finally gets up, and the voice tells her to run. But, like, she resists, because she doesn't want to be a slave to this voice. But then she hears a snap behind her, and, like, she looks around, she doesn't see anything. And she takes 1 step. And then she steps, her, like, next step, she steps on a branch, and, like, it cracks. And that scares her, I guess.
Yeah.
So she boots it, she runs. So, like, the voice is counting down in her head, and she runs, like, she opens the gates. She, like, cuts her hands on the rose thorns, and, like, she manages to get all the way up the steps, and, like, she's trying to unlock the door. I find this a weird concept. In my brain, I don't know why. Like, people in the, like, 1900s didn't lock their doors. Like, they didn't have keys to lock their doors. I don't know why.
Oh.
I feel that way, but for some reason I do feel that. I find... in my brain, locking your door is a very modern notion. I know that's...
Yeah, well,
I know that it's probably incorrect. Like, I'm aware that in my brain, people probably did lock their doors when they left the house, but in my head, that's not right.
Yeah, I feel like that's probably because, like, even around the Bay, I'll say, like, in other parts of Newfoundland, there are places where people still don't lock their doors. So it is very much a thing that, like, didn't happen all that often.
So anyway, so she's, like, fumbling with the key in her skirt pocket, and, like, she finally unlocks the door and gets in with a second to spare. And, like, the voice is like, well, that was close. Yeah.
I liked it. Thank you.
Anyway, so she's just frustrated that she can't withstand the voice like she wants to. And she looks at her hands, and they're all bloody from the roses on the gate, and that causes more panic. For some reason, she, like, freaks out washing off she's like, I have to get it off. So, like, she's really, like, having almost, like, a little bit of mini panic attack.
Yeah.
But after she cleans her hands and calms down, she calls out for Genevieve. She doesn't want to go to bed. She doesn't want to go to bed angry. She wants to clear the air.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And she looks through the entire house, but Genevieve isn't home. And she doesn't really seem to think about it that much.
No, she sees, like, her bedroom door is closed, and she's like, she must be in there.
I think she does look in.
I don't think she does, because I thought she just sat outside the door being like, please talk to me.
Maybe. The only thing, maybe, I know that she looks into her sister's room at one point, because then she leaves and comes back and then she notices things that she didn't before.
Yeah, I feel like that's the next day, though.
Whatever. She goes to sleep.
Yeah.
So she wakes up the next morning, and Genevieve still isn't home. So she finds a letter written to her from Genevieve, like, down in the hall. And essentially it says she can't bear to see Ophelia live with no hope for her future. And if everything goes to plan, she'll be back in a couple of weeks. And to let her bear the burden for once. So she left, not in an angry way, but in a, I need to do something for you sort of a way. Yeah. So Ophelia goes to look for clues about where she could have gone. And she goes into her room and she, like, tears the room apart and finds a diary under the floorboards, along with, like, a wad of cash and a brooch that Ophelia doesn't recognize, which we never hear from again, as of right now.
Yeah. I'm like, does that mean that it's gonna be some guy gave it to her? Like, that sounds like the
oh,
type.
Yeah, maybe, like, to help her get the cash. Like, maybe she's exchanging the brooch for the jewelry for cash. So the diary mentions that Genevieve found another letter and wanted to confront her mother about it, but she didn't want to tell Ophelia because she's under so much pressure already from their mother. So Genevieve found something, a letter from or to her mother.
Yeah, we're assuming from the bank. I'm assuming.
Yeah,
that's what I made. That is
something. So Ophelia's frustrated that seems like Genevieve knew about it and didn't tell her. And she throws the diary, and that causes a piece of paper to fall out. I don't know how you don't find that when you're rifling through the diary, but it's fine.
I just find it funny, like, just being like, I'm so angry.
I mean, we do that with books, though. We're like, throw the book when something happens. But that's usually something in the book. So she looks at the newspaper clipping and it says, Phantasma is coming this fall. And then she grabs the diary and looks for more information on Phantasma and finds more info. And she's putting together these dots that she thinks this is where Genevieve has gone. Because in the margins of the diary, there's a note to find Gabriel. And then there's an entry that mentions that Genevieve is close to finding him. But her mother is getting suspicious of all her questions. I'm wondering, like, is Gabriel their dad?
Oh, yeah.
Because, like, what else would her mother be? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what else would she have to question their mother about?
Yes. Unless, I just took it as she was questioning about devils and demons and stuff.
Could be that, too.
But, yeah. Interesting.
So Ophelia just gathers up the diary, all the clippings, and goes to her room to pack. And then the next section is called Night 1 of Phantasma. So Ophelia gets dropped off in front of Phantasma, and there's an announcer asking people if they want to enter. She goes up to him and asks if a girl, and she describes Genevieve then, has come through, but he won't tell her. He's like, it's against our policy to talk about other contestants or other potential people. And she asks what she needs to do to enter, and the guy tells her it will cost her her greatest fear. And in her head, she's like, that's fine, because her greatest fear has happened this week. And in my head, I'm like, her mother dying, her taking on the power, her sister disappearing. What is it? What's her greatest fear? The house like, anyway. She has a lot of fears. He also tells her that staff cannot be held accountable for what happens inside. And so, in other words, any bargains she makes or physical or mental damage she may sustain. This is like the terms and conditions. He says she can forfeit at any time except during the 9 trials themselves. And in order to win Phantasma, you must be the last person to leave alive after completing the 9 trials. And that there's 1 trial every night starting tomorrow night. If she's late, she's disqualified. So essentially, those are the rules of Phantasma. He also warns her that the most important part is to fall in love within Phantasma at her own risk.
Yeah. Which is a wild thing. Does he only say this to the women, or does he say this to everyone?
But at this point, I'm getting, like, Caraval vibes.
Yeah.
Now, to be fair, I only read Caraval. I didn't read the sequel because I was really annoyed with Caraval at the end. But
yeah, I read them all technically, but I feel like it's just been so long.
It's been a long time since I read it, but I really, like, everybody raves about it, and the ending for me was so, like, I don't like it. Anyway, but I'm getting sort of those vibes at this point.
Yeah.
So she states her full name to accept the terms. She's just like, yeah, I'm going in. And there's, like, an electric magic zap, and then there's a creep on the edges of her mind, like, flicking through her memories and her fears. And then the guy says she has a ton of fears. And then he reaches in and grabs the fear she thought she buried forever, and he pulls it out. And we don't know what that fear is. And I would assume it's none of the fears she experienced this week.
Yeah. I do wonder what it is, because she does mention a few. She's like, my fear of being buried alive. He skips past that. And I'm like, also, what are they going to do with these fears?
So he tells her that this will make the competition particularly brutal for her, but entertaining for the rest of them. So, like, ouch.
Yeah. But it does make me wonder, and obviously we're going to find it out. But do you think the fear is only going to affect her, or will it affect everybody? Because if it affects everybody, I feel like she has an advantage.
Yeah, now, in fairness, the fears I don't know how far you've read it, but I've read as far as I've seen somebody's fear used, and it does seem to affect everyone.
Okay.
So who knows?
I haven't read that far.
So she goes inside the mansion. Obviously, it's gorgeous. It's, like, gothic, old school. And she's met with this, like, gross apparition whose entrails are, like, falling out of his stomach and trailing on the ground. And it asks her name, so she tells it. She wants to vomit, but she's like, nope, keeping that in. The apparition is, like, impressed because they're like, almost everyone else is either thrown up or fainted at the sight of me. And one person already left, like, already forfeited.
Can you imagine just having to walk back out into the crowd and being like, sorry, guys.
No way, Jose, I'm not doing it. So she asked the apparition about Genevieve, but the apparition's like, I can't tell you anything about people not in your group. And then she shows Ophelia to a den, and there's about 20 or so other people there. So I'm assuming they take, like, a bunch of people, then they're a group, and then more people come in, then they're a group. So the apparition tells everyone that they are the final group, and they will get their own corridor of rooms. And dinner will be served an hour before dusk every night. And the first level will start at sunset sharp tomorrow. So remember, if you're late, then you're disqualified.
Sunset sharp.
Yeah, just I know. Because it's like, sunset isn't even at an exact time every day.
No.
So, like, you have to be here at a random time sharp.
Yeah.
The apparition also tells them if they leave their wing of the manor at any time before the 7th level, they will be disqualified. And I'm like, Ophelia does this all the time. But yeah. She's fine. So that apparition disappears. And then another one, and I said he's got nearly headless Nick vibes, because his head's almost chopped off, but not quite, shows up to bring them to their corridor of rooms on the 4th floor. So as they climb, some guy approaches Ophelia, and he's, like, a bit of a jackass, but Ophelia just, like, bites back, and is just equally, like, she's not calm, like, she's calm, she's not meek. If someone's an asshole, she gives it right back. She's not afraid.
Yeah.
Then some other person just tells the jackass to go elsewhere and calls the jackass Cade. And this person is a girl, and she tells Ophelia her name is Lucinda, aka Lucy, and says, oh, me and Kate are cousins, and we're here because our family's gotten into a financial situation.
Yeah. It does seem like she's trying to dig a tiny bit of, like,
yeah,
why are you
or
here?
like she's trying to make like a connection to be friends. But Ophelia's just like, nope, I'm just here for my sister, and then I'm getting out. I don't care why anyone. She doesn't care to make friends, which I find bizarre considering, like, she has no friends, and she seems to, like, I don't know if she seems jealous of her sister for having friends, but, like, if somebody is reaching out to you to be a friend, why wouldn't, you know what I mean? Like, as somebody who doesn't have any friends, why would you not want to reach out to make that connection? But I guess she doesn't care.
But I guess also, like, it sounds like a bunch of people are just gonna leave and die. So I'd be like, I don't want to get too attached to anyone.
So Ophelia thinks that she looks familiar, so maybe they've seen each other around town. And Lucy actually says, "You're Ophelia Grimm, right?" But like Ophelia's just like, yeah, whatever. And she starts she just dismisses her and just starts looking through the group to see if Genevieve is one of the 20 or so people. So she's not. So they are given their room numbers, and Ophelia is the last one to be given a room, and she asks the apparition about the groups. And the apparition tells her there are 9 groups total, but they don't all have the same number of people. But, like, that's still a lot. That could be 200 people.
Yeah.
So she heads down her hallway, and she feels like the shadow voice almost waking up in the back of her mind. And I'm like, okay, now I'm getting One Dark Window vibes. Right?
Oh, yeah.
It feels very much One Dark Window-y with the shadow voice in her head. And she says it feels like heavier and louder, and like it's giving her a headache, which is abnormal.
Yeah.
Which is sort of why I'm wondering, like, maybe this is something that I don't want to say fixed, but like maybe this is like a magic thing and maybe it can be removed.
Well, it does seem like there's some external force making it worse here. So it's like, at the very least, when she leaves, it should go back to how it normally feels. But also, like, it does make you wonder, like, is there actually a voice in her? Is it someone? Yeah, it is odd.
So she finds her room, and it's normal and charming, and she's looking at the bookshelf, and she's looking through the books, and she touches one, and, like, pulls it back, and it reveals this, like, hidden passage beneath behind the shelf.
Immediately.
And she hears a creak behind her and looks, and it's a ghost cat. Yeah.
Amazing.
I know, me too.
I want a ghost cat. And
she tries to, like, shoo it away, but it has human eyes, which is really creepy.
It is.
And it is. I'm like, it's somebody.
Is this?
I'm like, oh my god, could it be her mother?
Oh,
because, like, she's never seen her mother's eyes. Real you know what I mean? Her mom has always had those weird, pale, icy blue eyes.
What color?
It doesn't say.
Are the cat's eyes?
I don't think. It just says.
Just that they're human-like. Interesting.
Anyway, so it makes her feel uneasy. And the cat tries to lead her through the passageway, but she doesn't want to. Because she's like, I don't want to go down there.
Fair.
But her locket does something. It doesn't say what, though. It just says her locket does something that tells her she needs to go down the passage. So I'm like, does it get warm? Is it that weird heartbeat thing? Like, it just says the locket makes the decision for her or something like that. Like, it does something. So she grabs a candle, uses her magic on it to light it before going inside. So she's just going down this passageway. After a couple minutes, the shadow voice tells her it's going to get her. And then the bookcase slides. She hears the bookcase slide back in place. So she's like, well, shit. And the shadow voice is louder and different, she says. Like, this is the first time it's actually spoken to her since being in here. And she says it's definitely louder, and it feels different. Like, it sounds different. So the voice tells her to start running, and that it's coming. And the locket starts doing the heartbeat thing, and then she sees, like, a pair of bloodshot eyes and razor-sharp teeth. which startles her, so she drops the candle.
Of course.
And she's in darkness, and the voice tells her to run again, and she listens. This time, she runs. And the voice just tells her if she is in that hallway for this passageway for 10 more seconds, she's dead. So she is running, the thing is chasing her. She reaches the door, and she's trying to find a handle, and she does find it, but before she can, like, get through the door and close it, the creature runs its nails down her arm to, like, try and catch her. So she expels her magic, like, does the blue sparkly thing, and gets the creature off of her, and then she shuts the door. And she wonders if the creature is from her mind, or is just a part of Phantasma. And I'm like, is this something you're scared of? Like, she's wondering if her fears are just manifesting.
Mm-hmm.
And
which is not a bad question, because, like, someone's rooting around your head. You don't know what is gonna happen.
And I think, too, part of the issue with not issue with Phantasma, but everything everybody says about Phantasma is about, like, how people can go crazy. So,
yeah.
Like, she's wondering, like, maybe Phantasma is using, like, what's inside of her head to create the nightmares, and maybe it's just causing her to, like, rethink everything. Like, because it does play with your mind.
Yeah.
And she's just stressed. Because, like, she knows in her brain, and the shadow voice has created so many terrifying scenarios through the years. And she's like, all those things I've thought of that I've been afraid of, like, the guy that rooted through my head could use any of those on me. And, like, I would feel the same.
Of 100%, yeah. That's fair.
So the ghost cat is in this, like, room with her and shows her where the exit is. And she peeks out and sees, like, it's just a hallway that leads to the rooms again. And I'm like, is she allowed to be here? Because it said if you're not allowed to leave your corridor of rooms until the 7th trial, like, where, like, are you allowed to be here?
Yeah. I feel like the places she's not allowed should be locked. So if she can get to them, then that's
true.
Their fault.
So she just leaves the room, closes the door, tries to go down the hallway, but her dress gets caught in the door. So she has to reopen it to, like, get her dress out. But the room that she was just in is now a closet. So it's sort of like a magical house that the rooms can all shift and disappear and reappear and, you know.
Yeah. I was like, is it a magical house, or is everything just in her head? What is going on?
So then there's the opposite end of the hallway, a new door appears, and the cat goes towards that. And she's like, it's funny because she's like, you just led me somewhere that I almost got killed, but I'll give you another chance.
Yeah, it's wild choices. These are the things I'm talking about. I'm like, why is she doing
She's like,
this?
Okay, cat, you didn't kill me the first time. Who knows? Maybe you really have good intentions.
Like, I doubt it, girl.
So she feels like this sense of being watched, and her locket is heating up. So she's like, I'll try and open this door. But it doesn't open. And she tries for like 10 minutes to open the door. And then some guy approaches her from behind and asks, like, if she needs help. And Ophelia turns, and, like, obviously he's super hot. And he picks up the cat. And again, he's like, yeah,
which makes him even
help?
hotter.
And she notices that he's a ghost because he has, like, a glowy outline, we'll say. But his glowy outline is different. It's not blue, it's white.
Interesting.
So he's not a normal apparition. And he's not super transparent, but he's slightly opaque, maybe. And he just feels different. And he sort of has the same energy as the stranger last night. But then she realizes from his voice, oh, he is the stranger from last night. And she's just like, hey, you're, like, she wants to, like, they have a little conversation, And she suggests, like, oh, we spoke last night. And he's like, I don't remember you from last night.
I feel like he could easily just be like, sorry, my memories don't work that way. Like, he could easily have stopped this conversation from being as confusing as it was.
And I didn't really go in depth in the conversation because it was sort of confusing.
Yeah.
But she is going to be like, what are you talking about? We spoke last night. But he just tells her to be careful what she reveals in the open. And says, even the walls have ears, Angel. And that sort of cements it, like, in my brain, I'm like, he must have at least some sort of recollection, because he called her the same thing. He called her Angel.
Oh, I just thought that he doesn't remember it. He just came up with the same pet name for her twice. But it could be either.
And then just the way he's cagey about it. So he asks, like, oh, well, what happened when we met? So he just then, too, reminds her, like, she's covered in blood from the scratch that the weird thing gave her. And then we get a little info dump that her magic has healing properties, and she heals in 1/4, like a quarter the amount of time that humans do. So, like, she's like, oh, it's already scabbed over. And I'm like, that is not 1/4. That's like, it's like 1/16, maybe. And she reminds him of their meeting and tells him, like, she didn't see him, but recognizes his energy. And I'm like, you just warned her to talk about things, not to talk about things in the hallways, because, like, the walls have ears, but yet you're still talking about this in the hallway. So, like, what was the point?
Yeah. I agree. I don't really understand what the warning was for if he's just going to ask her what they were talking about.
He tells her that he is a phantom. So, like, then we get our little lesson about apparitions that you sort of mentioned at the beginning. So, apparitions, the normal ghosts, are mortal souls that died but didn't cross over. They are non-corporeal and intangible to everyone except each other and necromancers, meaning they can't hurt people. Most people don't see them. It's just, like, necromancers can see them, but that's it. Ghouls are the worst type of ghost. They are souls, like we mentioned, that stuck around too long, have become semi-corporeal, but they're mindless zombies. So they have power, but they have no sense of morality. So that's why they attack people. And she wonders, like, oh, maybe that was the creature in the hallway. And then there are poltergeists and phantoms. There are poltergeists, which we don't get a lot of info on right now. And then there are phantoms. And they are the most rare, and they are the most powerful. She's never met one before. So he asks to remind him of their conversation last night. And she was like, you really don't remember? That's so weird. But he tells her that his memories are complicated. So that's fun. She asks if he's a staff member of Phantasma, and he's like, no, not exactly. And then she asks, like, is this your cat? And he says, no. But the cat's name is Poe, like Edgar Allan, so that's fun. She asks if he knows how to open this door that she's been trying to open for 10 minutes, and he does. And she's like, well, can you? And he says, no, I'm not going to help you. And she's like, that's annoying. You asked me if I needed help. And he says, I asked if you needed it, not that I was going to give it to you. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be one of those, like, riddly, like, everything has a double meaning sort of a person. And then he says he's not allowed to help any contestant for free.
Like,
I
trade sexual favors for help.
But I just don't understand, like, she doesn't make the connection. And, like, again, we'll see in a little bit. So, like, it's inside, the devils are making deals.
Yeah.
And yet, he says he can't help her for free, and she doesn't connect that to a devil. So, like, right away in my brain, she's already identified him as being different. And I'm like, I'm wondering if maybe he's not a phantom at all, but, like, a demon or a devil or something.
Yeah.
That was my...
Reasonable.
And, like, the fact that he can't help her without her making a deal when the devils are the ones going in and scooping up all the deals. And I'm like, this feels... Yeah.
What are you?
Anyway, so she hears a scream from down the hall and thinks it's Genevieve. So she walks past him and, like, she's like, oh my god, did you hear that? But then when she turns around to see him, he's disappeared. Yeah. So she goes back to her room, she gets a bath. And she knows she's, like, stuck here. She's not able to look for Genevieve until level 7, so she has to get her head in the game. But then she thinks of this green-eyed phantom, and she imagines his mouth, and then almost, like, starts to, like, lower her hand down her body, like, to, you know, like, get herself going. And then stops herself to remind herself, like, get your head in the game! Not a time for sexual pleasure right now.
Yeah.
I mean...
Well, might help with any anxiety.
So she wakes up the next morning, starts going through her morning routine, and she's in the bathroom. And then she sees streaks of blood across the wall and, like, dripping from the tub faucet. And then a creature emerges from the pool of blood. And it's something human-shaped, and Ophelia knows, oh shit, it's a ghoul. So she tries to leave her room to get away, but the door won't open until she screams to let her out. And then the door opens, and there's, like, a void of pitch black nothingness. And the ghoul is, like, closing in behind her, so she's like, I'll just jump. So she just jumps into the void. Wild I mean, if something was coming after you, would you jump into nothing, or would you stay behind with the... It's sort of like a... Would you take the unknown, or would you take the known, like, crazy death creature?
Honestly, I don't know.
I would probably jump. But that's, you know.
I don't know.
So she's falling, sort of like it reminds me of, like, an Alice in Wonderland situation. She's, like, falling, and she has no idea how long she's falling for. And she hears whispers all around, and she hears one voice that's louder than the rest, but also familiar. But she doesn't know what they say or whatever. Yeah.
Who they are.
I know.
Fuck's sake.
We all know, but that's besides the point. So she crashes through a floor and lands on a couch in front of the phantom. And he's drinking. And it's early, but he's still drinking. And he's like, how the hell did you get here? But she's confused because ghosts can't eat or drink anything. And I'm like, all the more reason to believe he's not a ghost.
Yeah.
And she voices it. She's like, ghosts can't eat or drink anything. And he's like, oh, I'm special. How did you get here? Yeah. And she tells him about what happened in her room. And he says, oh, yes, I know that scene. So apparently the house uses the same tricks every time. So, like, the ghouls are in the house, and they're hard to retrain. So, like, the ghouls use the same tricks on everybody every year. It is.
Which is kind of funny.
And he says even the devils use the same 9 levels every year. So, like, the levels are the exact same every time. Yeah. Which I'm like, I'm surprised there's not more information about the levels. Because you would think people would, like, do a couple... and then forfeit, like, you'd think they would talk about it when they get out, but apparently not. Or maybe they do, and she just doesn't know about it because she's not involved.
Yeah. She didn't really realize that it was happening, so it feels like she could have studied more.
So he informs her that, like, she is in the dining hall, but she was supposed to be locked in her room until it was ready. Like, the dining room's not ready yet for people to come into it. And she's like, I was, but I got the door open and the hallway was gone. So, yeah. Fair. And he wants to speak, but he she feels eyes watching her again, and I guess he feels it too. So he drags her to a closet, and he asks her again, how did you get in the dining room? So she describes, she's very transparent. Like, she doesn't try and keep secrets, which I like. So, like, I feel like we're not going to have one of those miscommunication things. Him deliberately not telling her things.
Or forgetting things.
But it's not one of those things where she's like, well, I'm not going to trust him, so I can't tell him things. You know, which I don't like that. Yeah. So she just describes what happened, how she fell, and she heard the whispers, and he is amazed that she found the Whispering Gate, because apparently only devils and non-corporeal beings can use that, and it's on the quote-unquote other side.
Yeah.
And he said that no normal mortal could summon it, and she's like, good thing I'm not normal, I'm a necromancer. And
like, oh, well, that explains everything.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So she asks, like, why did you warn me away from this place last night? And he's like, you need to stop thinking that any being in Phantasma has good intentions or morals. And you need to ask yourself how their actions benefit them. And he's like, his included. She was like, because I guess in her head, she's thinking that he warned her away for her benefit. And he's like, stop. Don't think that way. Yeah. And she tells him she doesn't like his riddles. Like, I guess he speaks in, like, half answers, and she's confused about it. And he is confused, because most people that come to Phantasma like riddles. And she's like, but I'm not here to win Phantasma. I'm here for my sister, and I want to get out. So she's like, I don't care about winning. She's like, I just want to find my sister and convince her to leave before both of us die. And then she mentions she isn't even sure her sister is here, because obviously she hasn't found her. They're not in the same group. And she's like, but my sister was trying to find someone named Gabriel. And then his eyes flash. So he knows what she's talking about. So she's like, do you know a Gabriel? And he's like, I know a lot of people. So he's being deliberately cagey. Yeah.
Evasive. Yeah. But it's also, like, I wondered if he's allowed to tell her, or if that would have to be a deal for information or something. Like, we don't know how high up, like, is this Gabriel? Gabriel always just makes me think of angels. So it does make me wonder, is this Gabriel, like, one of the higher ups or something? Like, I don't, like, still a devil.
Could be.
But,
so, like, she's annoyed that he's not giving her a real answer, so she goes to leave. And then he makes her an offer. He says he can make sure to help her find her sister, and she asks what that will cost. And she's like, I offered to help you last night, by the way. And he's like, you did? She's like, yeah, like, helping ghosts is in my job description. And he's like, what's your name? And she doesn't want to tell him. So he's like, I'll offer you my name first. My name is Blackwell, which is such a weird name. Like, it sounds like a last name.
It's definitely a last name.
That's I know, what I took it as, but, like, it's just weird that, like, that's the only name he's giving her, and then she calls him that all the time. It's just odd.
Yeah.
And so then she tells him her full name, Ophelia Grimm, and he just tells her that she is exactly who he's been waiting for, and he offers her a bargain, and she doesn't want to take it, but it's a good one. He says that she has to make it to level 7 to find her sister. And from his experience, around half the contestants either die or quit by level 5. So he's like, I'll help you survive long enough to reach the last couple of levels and find your sister. But, like, I feel like she should also make it so that he also helps her sister reach that level. Because, like, it's pointless for her to reach level 7 if Genevieve doesn't also make it to level 7. And, like...
Yeah. But wouldn't you just bargain and be like, hey, can you tell my sister to get the fuck out of here because she's an idiot?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or wouldn't you bargain to be like, can you check if my sister is here?
Yeah.
It's an odd, and obviously we're going towards her finishing Phantasma, I assume. Like, that's where the book is going. I don't think she's going to drop out. And I don't think she's going to die. So that leaves winning. But I know, I just feel like there's so many other options she could have done here.
Yeah.
Or tried to get from him, yeah. It's interesting choices.
But anyway, I guess the bargain is a blood bargain. And she thinks that's hilarious. Because I guess our little info dump is that any being that possesses magic can make a blood bargain. And it's an unbreakable oath until every aspect of the bargain is fulfilled. So it's a big deal.
Yeah.
And she says his offer is intriguing because it would mean that, like, she wouldn't get any more bathroom surprises and, like, you know, it would help her get where she needs to go. But her mother warned her never to make deals with devils.
Yeah.
But she's like...
I don't think her mother took her...
No, I don't. So, but I'm wondering if maybe that's why she taught her that. Don't make a deal with the devil, because...
Yeah.
Of maybe what it cost her. But she's like, my mom never said anything about making a deal with a phantom. And I'm like, probably because you can't make deals with phantoms and he's a devil. That's my story. Yeah. That's my thought. It's the hill I'm dying on before I know.
No, it's fair.
So she turns him down. And he is, like, shook. He's like, what? You're turning me down? And they have a moment of, like, closeness where he gets, like, right up in her face. They're in a closet, so, like, you know.
Pride and Prejudice 2005.
Yeah. Them getting really up in each other's grill. It also reminds me of Princess Diaries 2, A Royal Engagement, when Mia and Nicholas are in the closet.
Yeah.
So they have a moment of closeness, and her heart is, like, pitter-pattering. And she's like, good day, don't follow me. And then she leaves the closet and, like, starts walking down the hall. So then the cat is there, and she runs in, she's, like, speaking to the cat. But Blackwell she said, don't follow me, and he just comes out and immediately follows her.
It is funny.
And he speaks to her instead, and he finds... She looks, and he's, like, following her down the hall and sort of strutting in a way. And she finds that odd, because usually ghosts hover. And I'm like, obviously he's a devil, and he's probably in charge of the whole thing. And he wants to discuss the terms of the bargain, because
she didn't even wait to hear.
And she's like, bargains usually only benefit the one who offers it. And I guess he doesn't really say much to that. So he walks her back to her room, and he says the first element he'll offer is that he will clean up any hauntings outside the levels. But inside the levels, she has to do it, but he can help. So she still has to complete the levels, but he can assist her. But outside, when they're just in Phantasma hanging out, he'll make sure she doesn't get any more hauntings, any more scenes. So they go to her room, and the ghoul is still in there, and he just snaps it away, which she finds amazing. So, like, he does have a certain amount of power. So I'm like, girl!
I know, but he also just helped her without...
Yeah, I guess to show what he can do.
I guess, but I'm like, you said you couldn't do this, sir. You said you couldn't help without something in return. So what is in return here?
So he tells her he can snap things in and out of the corporeal plane. And she asks, is that something all phantoms can do? But he's like, I don't know. I don't know any other phantoms. And she asks, like, what he wants from their bargain. And asks, like, is it the key? Is it the key you want? And he's like, what key? And she's like, last night you mentioned a heart and a key thing would set you free. And that makes him freeze. And he's like, what exactly did I say? And so she tells him what he said, and he's, like, baffled and annoyed. He's like, I can't believe you didn't mention this before. And she's like, dude, like, I'm sorry.
I assumed you were there.
You were.
Because you said it.
And he just tells her he's been trapped in Phantasma for more years than he can remember, and he will be stuck in here for eternity unless he can find the anchor keeping him here. And he's like, you somehow managed to find me in a weird moment of clarity that I've already forgotten because of the holes in my memory. And, like, this is all very strange.
Yeah.
And he just says, like, whenever he gets close to finding what is keeping him here, he loses it. And, like, she is the first concrete information that there is something for him to find. And he's like, because she's a necromancer, like, she can search the manor in a way that he can't, which I don't really get, but okay. And her ability to summon doors is an asset. The fact that she can, like, make rooms and doors appear.
Mm-hmm.
And she asks what will happen if she fails. And he tells her 10 years of her lifespan will transfer to him. So that's what he wants in exchange.
Which is the only reason I think that her mother died from this kind of thing. But it is a bit of a wild ask. Like, do this impossible thing that I haven't been able to do for longer than I can remember. Or I'm taking 10 years of your life. I'd be like, I don't know,
she only has 9 days, 10 days to do it, because Phantasma is, there's one trial every night, and there's 9 trials, and the first night is a freebie, so, like, it's 10 days.
Yeah, and, like, what if she's gonna be busy during that time doing the trials, one assumes. So, yeah, it's a bit wild.
Yeah, so there's a lot of questions. I promise his identity. I don't promise because I don't know. But I would bet money on the fact that he is not a phantom.
Yeah, it's making it pretty obvious that there's something else going on here. Like, I don't know how much he knows about it. Or, like, what... I can't imagine him being the one, unless he's completely fucking with her. I can't imagine him being the one that's, like, doing everything here. But, I don't know, maybe. He seems like he genuinely doesn't remember some things, and he seems like he's genuinely trapped there, so...
Yeah.
I guess he could be trapped and also the one arranging it, but who knows?
Yeah. So, I really want to get to the part of the book where things start falling into place and I understand more. I hate all these, like, I love it, but I hate all these question bits. I hate the setup of the mysteries. I really want to find out, like, who he is, what's going on, like, I just really want to know. And guaranteed there's something more to her as well. Because, like, we find out, I think, might be next week, that, like, her mom's magic didn't manifest the way hers is.
Oh, okay.
It was I'm sorry. It was a passing comment where she said, like, my mom never explained this part to me. And and he was just like,
okay.
You know, everybody's different. This is just you being, like, this is just your magic being different than your mom's. So, like, I don't know.
Interesting. Yeah. There's a lot happening. So hopefully we get some more.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm really excited to read. And, you know, just from all the comments I'm reading, like, on social media, apparently it's a good book. A few people I've seen have made it, like, 3 spicy peppers.
Which, impressive, because I was like, I didn't really know if it would be spicy at all. I'm glad to hear it is. I'm also glad that it's only, like, it's all going to be wrapped up in one book, because I saw that there was a 3rd book, and I was like, oh my god, this is going to end kind of like last month's book ended. I was like, is this going to end in, like, a betrayal or in a something like that? And I was like, I don't really want to deal with that. But it seems like it's a romantasy book, so it should have an HEA, I'm assuming.
Hope so.
Me too. I guess we'll see. Yeah.
Anyway. So, yeah. So, I guess that's it for this week. I'm really excited to see where this book goes. Chances are I'll have it finished the next time we record next week, because I just can't. No.
Can't put it down.
So, yeah, if you want to get in touch with us, share your thoughts on anything you heard in this episode. If you have any theories, book suggestions, reach out to us by email at coffeeandcoread@gmail.com, or on Instagram or Facebook at Coffee and Co-Read, and coffee.coread on TikTok.
So next week, we're reading chapters 13 to 22 of Phantasma. So make sure to follow along, and if you're enjoying our chats, don't forget to follow, rate, and review wherever you get our content. Thanks for listening, everyone, and we'll see you on the next page.